Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so, yesterday, a couple of videos went up between both myself and Truth. Truth put up his Heroes versus Sin attempts video. I put up a video reacting to that and making some comments about things that he said. And he actually put up a second video, and that video went up just before my one. So obviously when I'd recorded my one, I hadn't seen his second video. And so I wanted to react to this. I watched it earlier today while I was at the gym, and there's a couple of points that I wanted to clarify. Because there's a couple of things. Like, the thing is, Truth and I don't massively disagree. Someone in chat saying, "Hi YouTube," the chat is not showing on the screen, so... But the thing is, we don't actually disagree as much as I think some people think that we do. In fact, if you go and check my video, like that first response video, Truth actually left a comment on it saying that, you know, it was a good video and that he does agree with a lot of the things that I said. So there's a lot of funny comments about people who think that we're like hardcore beefing over this, which obviously is not true. We just have a difference of opinion. There's a couple of things, again, that I think from his video that he misinterpreted that I said. So I just kind of wanted to use this to clarify things a little bit. So here I am to defend the Heroes team again. That's apparently my job now, is playing the defense attorney for Heroes. So that's true, actually. I did read it out, so his hi YouTube did work. Although I didn't say who it was. But shout out to Mr. T. So... he pities the fool who is not here watching this live. But if you're watching the recorded video, then I do appreciate you as well. So make sure you guys out there, members of the jury watching this video, hit that like button, whether you're live in the stream right now or watching the recorded video. And your boy Ningen, better call Ningen when you need to defend the Heroes team. I thought I'd get that in there because, you know... Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and play Truth's video. I've put it in 2 times speed. It does obviously sound kind of funny, but like I'm not doing it so that it sounds funny. But it's just the fact that this video is 35 minutes long, and I'm going to be pausing it to make like comments and stuff. So I feel like the video would end up being an hour long if I don't play it in faster speed. So, but yeah, so here we go. And yeah, let's get started.
Alright guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video, and
It does sound funny. I made the joke to Chipmunk DC, but shout out to Truth. Obviously, it's like I said, I'm not trying to make Truth sound funny. It's just the fact the video is super long, so this makes my video not have to be super long, and it's easier to get through all the points very quickly. So anyway.
I did the Heroes video yesterday. Now, I put quite a lot of attempts into this, right, over several days. As you guys see, it was an hour and 40 minutes. One of the major things I did in this video, and I mentioned it several different times in the video, is that I intentionally want to try and use as many units as possible, do as many team builds as possible, so that people can't go, he's potentially making it look bad, or, oh my god, his team build is so bad. And then this boy Ningen walks right into it. Bad team build. But shout out to Ningen, because, kids, we have probably a couple of days left. I mean, last year, the rest...
So yeah, he's talking about the fact the game's dead, so this gives us something to talk about. Now, first of all, what he said, I think what he said is kind of cap. I think he's like, there's a bit of history revision here, because in the video he does say, unless I should have rewatched his first video again, because I've watched this one earlier, but in his first video he does try out multiple different units, but he tries them out because the team that he's using at the time isn't working, and he's putting other units on the team to see if they do work. But he doesn't specifically say that he's trying out all these different team builds just to show the team in like different ways. Because like I agree that if you're going to show the team and you want to show how good or bad it is in the event, you should try out different units on the team. But my main criticism, when I said this is a bad team build, the thing that I'm mainly talking about is the fact that it's mixing super and extreme units. And we can get on to how, like, this full super or full extreme, it might actually be impossible to do it with that build because you have to bring some units who aren't as good. But you can still, he's saying, oh, you know, I said I want to try out a bunch of different team builds. You can still do that while still making the team full super or full extreme. That was the main thing that I was trying to say. So I don't mean to, I definitely wasn't trying to say like, oh, you did this wrong on purpose, like blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I feel like that was one point that I think was slightly misunderstood, because he did say that he wanted to try out a bunch of different units. But my main sort of argument with this comment was about the fact that it's mixing super and extreme. So I've turned the desktop volume up because somebody said that the audio was a bit low. Because at the start, somebody said it was fine. But so we'll carry on from here.
Insurrection at Blues came out on the 31st, so we might still have a few days left until the next Dokkan Fest teaser. So something like a topic like this I could talk about, like a community reaction type thing where I can be passionate. That's easy video. So shout out to Ningen for this.
Exactly.
Now, the thing about this that's good is we could talk about. So like Ningen is trying to make a point here that the heroes team is not really bad. Wait, here, let me pull up his second tweet right here. So no item runs are cool and I do them too. Okay. But if a team can be wait, no item runs are cool and I do them too. Super Battle Road King. That's
right. Right here.
But if a team can beat the hardest event in the game if you just use them as a team.
Also, I think I should have paused it. I think that's a funny point, right? He's trying to get a dig in saying, oh, but you call yourself the Super Battle Road King, so aren't you discrediting no item runs? No, the whole point of being a Super Battle Road King is that I do all of the Super Battle Road stages with no items. But then I don't try and make the argument that the teams that I'm using in those videos are good or bad. So that's not really on topic, right? Calling the heroes team good or bad, whether they can do no item runs, doesn't really have anything to do with whether no item runs are good or not, right? But, you know, Truth doesn't like being the runner-up to the Super Battle Road King, so he has to mention it all the time, so fair enough.
The reason I don't evaluate with items, right, is because when you start introducing items into the mix, there's actually no separation between characters, really. All of a sudden, every character can do everything, right? Like.
Also, is that really true? If you incorporate items into the game, can free-to-play Super Strike Cyborg Tau be super good against Sin? No. Like, I saw some people make the replies to that tweet that I made, because you can see it has a couple of quotes. It has loads of replies. And people saying, once you use items, everyone can do everything. It's like, really? You beat Sin with a full Super Strike team with items then, and you tell me that, like, no units are different when you use items? Like, yeah, I don't agree with that.
My point as a YouTuber, right, is to try and persuade people to not spend money. If you think about me talking for years, I'm always saying, don't spend money on this game, don't spend money on this game, don't summon here, don't summon there, don't spend money. That's the whole point. So it's like, I can be a very tough critic for some of these characters because they cost fucking real money! These are not free-to-play characters. You gotta summon for them, right? Like, summoning for characters with Dragon Stones equivalates to real-life money. So, yes, the team is bad because you need items to match what other characters can do without items. Oh, not him.
So this is where, I mean, I could get into this at any point in the video, so I don't know how early I want to do it, because I'm sure he's going to talk more about it later. But he's saying that if the team needs items to do what other teams can do, that means the team is bad. And this is the thing that I talked about at the beginning of the stream before we started recording, is that I see a lot of people making this dichotomy that are trying to argue that the heroes team is bad, that there are only two things a team can be, which is good or bad. And if you're using the scale that to be good, the team has to be able to beat Sin with no items, then I wouldn't argue that the heroes team is good. But that's not how I rate teams in the game. Like, when somebody makes a tier list of units, they don't make 2 tiers and call them good and bad. They make, like, what, 5 or 6 or 7 tiers, where it's like Z, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. So if we do that for units, why would we do that for teams, right? So a team that can, I would never argue, and this is something I've had to bring up to multiple people, I would never say that the heroes team, just because I think they're good, or at least not bad, which is the main thrust of my argument. Remember, this all comes back to my contention is calling them bad, but that doesn't mean I think they're super good, right? I just don't think they're bad. So if we were going to do a tier list of all the teams in the game, it's up to you, I guess, how you choose to rate these kind of teams. How many tiers would we have, right? So if I wanted to make a tier list that, let's say, I think it's 6 tiers, we said earlier. So if we make a tier list that has peak, great, good, mid, bad, and terrible. So that's 6 tiers that go from peak to terrible. Where would the heroes team be on that list? Now, I would say, with bad being the second to lowest tier, I'm not putting the heroes team in that tier. The heroes team, I can beat or have beaten every single event on global, no items with that team. Now, obviously, there's the whole global player moment because we don't have Sin. But if a team can beat every single event in the game with no items, except for the single event that is the hardest event in the game, if we're making a tier list that has 6 tiers, why would you put that team on the second to lowest tier? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So this point about units that you summon with stones should be good, I definitely don't disagree with that, right? Like, if you're spending stones to summon for units and they suck, then obviously that's like a feels bad man moment. But like I say, with a full heroes team, you can beat all of the events in the game. And you have to remember, he does make this point about telling people not to summon for units because they might not be as good as other units. But you also have to remember that 95% probably of the player base don't care about no items. So if someone summons for a team because they think they're fun to use and they can beat every single event in the game by using items, then why would it be bad for that person to summon for those units? And remember, again, I should mention this as well, I don't think everyone should summon for the heroes units. I even say this myself when the Heroes Celebration comes out. If you're somebody who's free to play or you don't spend much on the game, you shouldn't summon for the heroes units. Because, yes, I've beaten all of the events with them, but that's because mine are like Rainbow Link level 10. If you're a free to play player and you can only afford to do like, 5 multis, you might not rainbow any of the units. You might pull all the units, but you only pull them at 55%. And then you probably are still going to be able to beat red zone stages with them with items, but you might need a few tries, you might need a bit of good luck. So, I don't know, I think that no items, people put too much value on no items when a lot of people who play the game don't care about that. Because it seems like the argument that he's making at this point in the video is that he's trying to encourage people not to summon for units that are not good with no items. But most people don't care about no items. So, but yeah, we'll keep going. I don't want to pause it for too long.
What is a good team? The Gamma's team. 8th Anniversary LR Characters team. Teams with the Blue Fusions on them, right? Teams with Vegeta and Trunks. Teams with Orange and Piccolo. Why are these teams good? Because they can consistently dominate the hard content without excessive struggles or needing items to do like...
So again, this is another thing when I talk about why I don't think there's only 2 tiers, right? A team that will consistently beat every single event in the game, including Sin, with no items, that would be a team that was in great or peak. That wouldn't be a team that's just in good, if we're talking about my tier list that has 6 tiers, where good is only the 4th tier, and we have great and peak above that. Then the Gamma's team, or Orange Piccolo's team, wouldn't be in good. They would be in great or peak. So that's the thing. I think if you have this dichotomy that teams are only either good or bad, then I could probably agree that the Heroes team is bad. But I don't look at teams like that, so...
Like, the Heroes units, you definitely can win in this Sin fight with the Heroes team. I think you can no item it, for sure. I mean, we had 2 runs. This run was pretty good right here, like where we finished.
Also, bear in mind, you might need hundreds of attempts, which your boy is going to do. Bear in mind that if I wanted to be like a sort of petty like debate bro and be like, oh, look at that W there for me, he did just say that he thinks you can no item this event with the team. Now, a big argument about whether a team is good or bad will be consistency. If you can no item Sin with the team, but it takes you like 1,000 tries and you only did it because you got like super clutch dodges, then obviously we would still say that that team is not as good as other teams where you don't need that kind of RNG. But remember, the reason a lot of people, and I'm not talking about Truth here specifically, but especially people who keep replying to me, especially these people, I get so mad about this. I bet those people are probably happy that they're triggering me, but I get so mad when I make these points defending my opinions in the game, and people reply saying like, oh, he's coping, but they don't give any explanation as to why they actually disagree with me. Like, it's like, bro, like, at least give me something to work with here. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you could no item the team. You could no item this with the good RNG. That means it's not as good as other teams. And I will never argue that there are not teams that are better than the Heroes team. So, but I just thought it'd be funny to point that out, that he does say in this video that he thinks the no item run with the Heroes team could be done, which is kind of my point. So, you know.
Right? Like, I made it to the last phase, but the thing about this Sin fight that I think Ningen doesn't understand because he's a global player. No offense, global players, you guys don't have a fight.
Also, please, can we stop with this global player? Oh, you don't understand how difficult this event is. It happened with the original Red Zone. Now it's happening with Sin. Like, firstly, the private server exists. Secondly, you know, I watched Truth's videos. I watched Minato's videos. Like, obviously, it's different than playing the game yourself. And I would never say that you know exactly what it's going to be like, right, until you've actually had a chance to play it yourself. But this idea that global players have no idea how hard Sin is because we don't have the event available, it's like, bruh, we've played the private server, we've watched your guys' videos, like, we know how difficult Sin is, or at least the difficulty level of Sin. And I know it's just a meme, and Truth loves, and I do it too, to be fair, on my side, we do love the global versus JP memes, but honestly, in any sort of argument or debate, as soon as somebody brings up, like, oh, you just think that because you're a global player, I kind of mentally switch off a little bit.
This Sin is not like, he's not like a new level of difficulty, as in like, Orange Piccolo is like shitting on Cell Max and the Metal Cooler Core, but then, oh my god, the 8th anniversary Sin, he's making it so tough. Like, Sin isn't really different from the other top tier bosses if you're a top tier character, because you can Trunks, Orange Piccolo, right? Any of that stuff. What Sin does is he bullies weak characters. That's what Sin does. This fight, you can't bring mid characters or bullshit characters in here because they will get crushed, right? Which I think is one reason why people enjoy these videos so much, because these level of weak characters, they just don't even stand a chance. And it's like, you know, we could play this rotation out.
One thing I will say, I think he does kind of clarify, because he says, if you're a good character, but I think it's odd because he says Sin isn't that much different from Broly, Metal Cooler Core, Cell Max. Well, I've beaten all of those events with the Heroes team. So if Sin isn't that much more difficult, then surely it wouldn't be that much more difficult. But he does kind of say, if you're a good character. So I'm assuming that's kind of what he's getting at. Because on the one hand, he said Ningen doesn't know because he's a global player. But then he says it's actually not that much more difficult. So I'm not too sure what he means by that.
I feel like I played this last turn pretty well because we, you know, healed. So at the start of the turn, what are we at? Yeah, we're at 252. Right, that's another. Why can I say that the Heroes team is bad? Well, because good teams typically have 650k plus HP. You're breaking a 700k level. There's teams that can get up to 800k, and then you look at the dog shit Heroes team. You're running under 600k HP. So it's...
I mean, that is just true, right? I would never argue with that. Some of the Heroes unit stats are way lower than we would like them to be. The team doesn't have any LRs. Like, the team, one of the biggest problems is the team doesn't have enough HP, and the hardest red zone stages that I was able to do, because I have done all of them, but the ones that were the hardest were the ones where there's a lot of units on the team that will take a super and you just die because you get hit for like 500k, but the team only has like 550k HP, and that is absolutely 100%, you know, that's an issue with the Heroes team. They don't have enough HP. So with the Easy A's this year, Broly and Vegito, Super Saiyan 4s, practically have LR stats, so hopefully we'll have a much higher pool of HP once these teams come out. I'm still hoping they'll do a Heroes LR, but just with the structure of the thing, I don't think they will, because I don't think they'll put LRs on a guaranteed featured banner, and then if they had a Part 2 LR banner for Heroes, that means even more banners you want to summon on, right? Because they have the Easy A banner as well, and then that just makes it way too much stuff to have to spend stones on during the celebration. So I would like to see a Heroes LR, but I don't know how likely that is. It'd be cool if they did a free-to-play one, but I guess we'll see.
It's like, you have a team with no characters that could really tank. I mean, the clip is in here, but Super Saiyan 4 Gohan, one of the tankier Heroes characters, eats a super attack for 450 in the second phase, right? And then the last phase, he type disadvantage. So you have no real great tanks, and you don't have really the health to survive. You don't have utility. What makes a good team? Well, we can run movie heroes, and we have Goku's Revive. We can run Earth Red Fighters, and, you know, we can have a Revive, and then 23rd World Tournament Goku becomes literal god, where he has a million.
See, again, the only thing I would say to that is about the tiers that I talked about earlier, right? Is those teams, I would consider those to be great teams or peak teams, not just good teams. So
defense is guarding and triple supering, right? Like, you have these things, these heals. AGL, Carnival Goku, you know, you'll finish the turn at low health, and then his healing mechanic will kick in. You could use Yajirobe, who has a Senzu, who has a heal. You've got Bulma. You have all these characters with these, like, special skills, these, like, really crazy things they can do to counteract a really crazy boss mechanics, and the Heroes team doesn't have it because the team sucks and is bad. It doesn't have any top-tier characters.
see, the thing is, I agree with all of that up until the point, so therefore it sucks and it's bad. Like, it just means it's not as good as those other teams, and those teams are in a tier that I would say is higher than good. But yeah, it definitely would be awesome if this year we do see a Heroes unit that has like a revival or something like that. But, you know, we'll see what we get, right? And yeah, them increasing the stats in general of the Heroes units would definitely be good.
If you go through this category, I think Hearts is good. But Hearts, do I have Hearts pulled up? I don't think I do have Hearts pulled up. Hearts is good, but Hearts is only good for the first couple of turns while his guard is up. He's a guard support character for these first turns. Like, I like this. To me, I like these types
of Hearts is good.
That guard for the first several turns is a very strong mechanic. Supporting, being a red zone viable level character and supporting is good, which Hearts is. Because the thing is that Hearts, to be good, he doesn't fall into these, this is another reason Heroes characters are bad, is these stupid restrictions. Like, it's not enough that it's like they're mid anyway. Then, so many of them, oh, the number one character, I mean, I think these characters are so bad. This is a crime, what this character is, right? So, look at this. So he's, just normal stats, stereotypical stuff. Right here, then this is the difference in this character being absolute dog shit and being, like, okay-ish. So he gets 80% attack, 30% damage reduction when all allies attacking in the same turn are super class full power or super class Dragon Ball hero, right? But, bro, it's just not enough. It's not enough. Like, you have these huge restrictions on top for several of these characters. Like, having to run super class or extreme class, it just doesn't work in a fight like this, where you don't have enough, like, really top-tier characters. So I made it to Sin twice in this, physical Sin, twice in this.
But yeah, so I agree with that. I talked about it in yesterday's video. I've talked about it before. So just to be clear again, for people who think that I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Heroes units, the restrictions for a lot of the units having to be on a full super team, full extreme, or having to have like full superhero allies, I do think that sucks, right? The unit's already limited enough with the fact that they come out once a year. Like, they shouldn't restrict them to only being on the Heroes team, because even just from a business standpoint, it means more people would summon for them if you could use them on other teams. So, yeah, I definitely agree that the restriction is probably one of the worst things about the Heroes units. And the ones who are the best are the ones that don't have as many restrictions, right? Because units like, I think I talked about this in yesterday's video, but Great Saiyaman 3, he only requires time travelers allies. So if we end up getting like a new Goku Black that has like a time travelers lead or something like that, right? He could still be good on a full time travelers team, but that still is a restriction, which is kind of annoying. So, someone said in the chat as well, it actually would be kind of cool. I don't know if they would do that, but if they awakened an existing unit to an LR, I wonder how they would do that. But that would be cool, right? Imagine if they brought out like an event where you can get medals that would turn, let's say, like Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku into an LR. That would be awesome, but I don't think they would ever do something like that. But it would be cool.
Video. And I mean, remember when I talked about how he's like a, I don't know, like a noob stomper, like weak characters will get stomped out. Both times I made it to Physical Sin, he did an AoE slot 1 and insta-killed the team. Like, it happened both times I made it to this point. So, that's just something to keep in mind, right? Is that these AoEs that he does are devastating. I think you can win this. The way you would win this fight, well, Robel has to dodge, right? That's just unfortunate. And then it's like, Golden Cooler is another, like, pretty good character. But he gets, like, tons of build-up damage reduction when he's super. All these Heroes characters are like, they get, like, defense. Like, like, I saw Ningen was saying, oh, well, Silas, after he transforms, he gets triple super, he could be over 1 million defense. Well, that's fine. Until Sin does AoE normals in slot 1. We had Sin on rotation, Silas on rotation earlier in the fight. Where was it? Maybe like right here?
Yeah, so this is a point that I think I mentioned in yesterday's video too, but the reason I was saying about Silas having such a high defense is, and this may be just a misunderstanding or like a misspeak on Truth's part, or me misunderstanding him or him misspeaking, is the reason I brought up Silas is because in his original video in the run against Sin, he says that Silas is doo-doo. Well, actually, I try and keep my videos family-friendly all the time, but Truth's already sworn multiple times in this video that I'm reacting to. So, Truth said that Silas is shit and that he has a shit design. And my counterpoint to that was, well, after he super attacks, he has 1 million defense. And I think his response is what he actually means, which is not what he said specifically, is what he means is that Silas is bad for the Sin event, which I agree with because he gets all of his defense on super. But in his original video, he just says that Silas is a bad unit with a bad design, which I don't think is true. He's just bad for events where the enemy does hard-hitting AoEs, which I think is true. So I think that's a clarification that should be made.
Yeah, here we go. Silas, I mean, this is certainly not the greatest rotation for Silas, right? Like, he could have Cold Judgment or Big Bad Boss.
Also, yeah, bad
Big
turn.
Bad Boss's characters on Heroes is a little iffy. Cold Judgment certainly does work, I guess, but the thing is that Hearts by this point kind of sucks. I mean, once he loses the guard and the support, right, if he transforms, he's not really doing anything special. So it's like, you don't really have the characters who are going to be able to activate these links, right? Like, it's like, there's just 80 million flaws you could point out. And a character...
Also, yeah, that is very true. And I think, like I said, I think, because I want to be good faith and I know that Truth knows what he's talking about most of the time, right? I'm assuming that he just meant for the Sin event, but he didn't specifically say it, because otherwise, like somebody pointed out in chat, that means there's actually a lot of units that are sort of near the top tier, but they get most of their defense on super. Then you would say that they are bad in this event as well. But we wouldn't say overall that unit has a bad design. We would just say they're bad in this event. So I am assuming that he just meant specifically for the event, but he didn't say that. He just said Silas is bad and has a bad design, and that's what I was responding to when I brought up Silas. So
having 1 million defense after supering doesn't really help you in this fight, right? Because
yeah, in this fight, exactly.
Things for the top tier characters. What this fight is a noob stomper, right? These level of characters get disintegrated. So like, look at this. We died before we even attacked, and then he had another AoE coming right there, and then another AoE coming right there. Like, the Heroes team just doesn't have the HP to deal with this shit, right? They don't have the strong defensive characters or the HP to handle this level of power that Sin has. Because it's like, this Goku would live a super, but he's still taking damage. He's gonna... I mean, it's like keep in mind that this team is also impressively weak offensively, right? Look at this, we're already on turn 9. The second time I made it to him, what turn was it? So we made it to Physical Sin once on turn 9, and what's the second turn? Let me see. The second one? All right, quit blabbering past me. Where are we at? It's turn, I can't see. Turn 9, yeah. The team just doesn't have the damage. If you're going to win this fight, I think you can. I think the most important character probably in order to winning this fight is Great Saiyaman. Great Saiyaman's another unit that is...
He is also not wrong, right? The damage on the team is not as high as it could be. But again, it comes back to, like, the team build, right? You do need to... And I'm not saying, again, like, oh, his team was terrible and that's why. Because just building the team slightly differently doesn't make up for the huge gap in, like, damage and things like that. But I mean, he even said himself on that previous turn, with certain links not being active for units like Sealess, obviously big bad bosses makes a huge difference in the amount of damage that units are going to do. Some of it is RNG. You know, if Sealess gets 3 supers compared to if he gets 1, then pretty significant difference in the amount of damage that you do in one turn. Same with like Golden Cooler, he can do multiple supers that build up damage reduction. If he does 1 super and then a bunch of additional normals, then obviously it's worse. So there you go. Sometimes I think, see, someone in chat, I've seen a few people say this as well. Sometimes I think people take this game too seriously. It's just a game. I mean, yeah, it's just a game that we all enjoy and have fun playing, and we enjoy talking about it. Like I said at the beginning, there's no actual beef like between me and Truth. We just slightly disagree on some of the things about some of the units, and it's just fun, right? And the game's dead at the moment, so what else am I gonna do?
Certainly fairly decent, I would say. He's got no defensive ability pretty much whatsoever, right? I mean, I guess he took, what, 50k from that first AoE, but the follow-up AoEs, I don't think would have been as bad, right? I don't know.
Saiyaman 3's a goat.
But the point is, I think if, like, the rotation would start... Alright, let's take a look at this, right? So Sin attacks a billion times per turn. If he attacks 1 time right here, and it's... So, like, this exact... Pretty much this exact thing. Actually, no, let me go back to that, because this is the exact turn that would allow you to win. Actually, pretty much. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then Great Saiyaman. Yeah, okay. So check this out. So if Sin did a super attack, he did 1 attack in slot 1, only 1 attack in a super attack, and then every other attack was in slot 2, and then you have Great Saiyaman super attack, and then he's firing off all these counters, right? Like, you know, he'd be able to pop this, he'd be able to pop this, and then he just gets off like 10 crit counters or something like that. Like, that's how you win. But again, it has to be 1 super attack right here, and then you'd want to dodge it, right? Robel, Xenopan, right? And again, we go through. You go through a lot of these runs. Oh, I'm popping Xenopan, we're using Baby Janemba, right? I do use the Timebreaker Super Saiyan 4s, although, I mean, they get embarrassed. I mean, they're just so bad. They just get shit on. So, I don't know. To me, I would say it's pretty obvious that the Heroes team sucks. It's bad. The characters are, for the most part, pretty bad. Again, you have a few solid units. I think Great Saiyaman is pretty good. I think Hearts is pretty good. Like Robel is solid. I think Xenopan is still solid. Baby Janemba is solid, right? You have a bunch of solid characters, but you have no anchor of the team. There's no top tier team. I said this, but like if you just added LR Bulma to this team, right? Like she could really get it done. Like that multiple turn support, and that leads me back. This is like
yeah, he did say that, and I said that in yesterday's video that I absolutely agree, right? If Heroes got 1 really good unit, especially a unit on the level of like LR Bulma, then that would completely change things with the team. So I'm on global, so I can't try Sin with the Heroes today, but trust me, when the Sin fight comes out on global, day 1, I'll do my videos, obviously, where we do, like, the 8th anniversary team versus him and stuff like that. But day 1, on stream, we will be trying Heroes versus Sin no item runs, okay? So be there.
The Heroes team has none of these type of crazy mechanics, like Bulma multiple turn support, Revives, Orange Piccolo. That's why the team is bad. The team is bad because we directly compare it to good teams, right?
Again, this is just the same point again. It doesn't have these crazy top tier mechanics, and therefore the team is bad compared to the other teams that have those mechanics that are good. Which again, just comes back to what I was saying before. If you only have 2 tiers for teams, good and bad, then sure, put the Heroes team in the bad tier. But why would we only have 2 tiers for teams? And why would all of those tiers be revolved around how good the team does in the single hardest event in the game, even though it can do all of the other ones? So
you're going to pretend good teams don't exist, you can pretend this team is good too. But if you're going to compare this bad team to a good team, you'll quickly see that it's a bad team, and that is a good team over there.
yeah, see, again, just
Did I close Gotcha?
there's more tiers than just 2.
Okay, now, people go, well, of course, the Heroes units are always bad. They're always mid and always suck. I don't completely agree with that either. I think God Trunks was pretty powerful on release. To me, it very much felt like God Trunks was, like, very similar in power to, like, EGL Trunks and Tech Kefla, right? This guy came out October 5th of 2021. This guy came out October 29th of 2021. This guy was November 25th of 2021. So he's right on the same range. This guy was good. He doesn't really work so well against Sin because, ding, 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 all of his defense is on super. That doesn't really work against Sin unless you're going to get God level RNG, which is not super likely against Sin because you're not able to move through the fight fast. You know, there's no, like, overwhelming damage dealer. I mean, I guess, Timebreaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Yeah, how fun using him. Sure, yeah, that clown. I hate that Vegeta so bad. But yeah, it's like just like doing like these mid levels of damage stuff like that doesn't make a good character. And then this year, it's like, you know, Timebreaker Super Saiyan 4, and then it's like the Gammas, Yamcha, Kid Goku. This character is not even close to the Gammas or Yamcha or Kid Goku. It's incomparable.
I think one thing I will say about that comparison is he is right, but remember when Tech Kefla and AGL Trunks came out, were they ever considered the best TURs in the game? I don't think so, especially a lot of people were really disappointed with AGL Trunks. So then we're saying that this year's units, or last year, the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s, were not comparable to the units that came out around the same time, the Gammas and Kid Goku. Units that people were arguing were like the best TURs in the game, and better than even some of the top tier LRs. So, I mean, you can make that comparison to the units that came out around the same time as them, but when the units that came out around the same time as them were largely considered the best TURs in the game, then the Heroes units are going to fall short. And like I said, I don't know, I said this in yesterday's video, I don't know if that's because they give them away on a guaranteed featured banner, so they don't want them to be the best TURs in the game, but yeah, you got to remember, like, AGL Trunks and Tech Kefla, like, yes, God Trunks was on a similar tier of power to them, but they weren't considered, like, the best TURs in the game at the time, which some of these units were.
So I do think that Dokkan just missed the mark. Let's take a quick glance to the comments here.
Okay, so the rest... So the rest of the video is him going through the comments section, and basically nobody in the comments agrees with me. Everyone agrees with him that the team is bad, and he does make that comment. There is a bit at the end. I don't know if I'd be able to skip to it exactly, but I do appreciate, like, Truth shouts me out at the end and basically says, some people were joking about it before, so I don't know if he was playing off that joke, but he basically says that this whole thing is like a secret plot for him to gas me up because it gets people talking about me and my channel, which, I mean, I do appreciate it, obviously, right? And this is the thing, even going back to the Super Battle Road King war, there's a lot of people that really thought that, like, Truth and I don't like each other over that stuff. But it literally is all just, like, friendly banter. And we're, like, in the DMs being like, wow, people actually think we hate each other, but we do not. So we might disagree on a few things here and there. Like I say, I think I tried to get my points across. I think this saga is probably over. I'll see if I can... I shouldn't say this on video, but I'll see if Truth wants to get together for, like, one final part. But I think we probably are done, right? We've milked the Heroes cow quite a bit over these last couple of days. And like he said at the beginning of his video, I like doing these kind of community discussion or reaction type things where I can talk about things that I'm passionate about, right? Because I do like the Heroes team. I don't think it's one of the best teams in the game. I have never said that. Right, I just don't like people underrating teams that I like, and it is that simple. We see people do it on Twitter all the time with units that they like. He does mention in this some of the people that push their agendas, like the Ultimate Gohan defenders and stuff like that. And yeah, at the end of the day, when somebody says something that I think is incorrect, not just because I feel it's incorrect, but because I can prove it. This is what I said in yesterday's video. If somebody says the Heroes team was bad on release, and then I turn around and say, well, I no-itemed every single event in the game with them on release. So how is that a bad team, exactly? And then all, like, 99% of those people just reply with, you're coping, instead of actually giving me an answer to the question that I asked. So, yeah, I don't know. So, at the end of the day, there is no beef between Truth and I. We obviously maybe disagree. I think if I got to speak to him directly about when he's saying about Heroes is a bad team when we compare them to good teams, and then this whole thing that I've said in this video about there are more tiers than just good or bad, I think he would agree with that, right? So I'd actually be interested to see whether he does do a video with me or he watches this video based on that 6 tiers that I talked about. Peak, great, good, mid, bad. Where would you put the Heroes team? Because I feel like in that list, even the people that want to downplay them are probably, surely you can only put them as low as mid, right? Surely, but I don't know. So there you go, Your Honor. The defense rests. The jury will have to decide, but you know full well when Sin comes out, I'm going to be doing those no-item attempts. When the Heroes comes out again at the end of this year, I will be rainbowing all of the units like I do every year. I will be saving up my link level keys so I can get all of them immediately to link level 10, just like I did last year. But, like I said multiple times, I don't think they're one of the best teams in the game. There's a lot of players in positions I would say you just should not summon for those units. But I just don't like it when people say things about the team that are, like, factually incorrect, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. So there you go. If you don't like the Heroes team, there's a lot of reasons why you might not like them that I would agree with. But if you're going to come at me and my defense of the Heroes team, at least give me an argument to work with instead of saying cope. I swear people don't know what that word means, but Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. You are the members of the jury. Give me your verdict. And who knows? Is the hero's defense saga over? I guess we'll have to wait and see. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.